You literally put your life on the line. Like one of the very first stories I remember hearing you tell was you going into a crack house. Mm-hmm. I've met the guy you rescued.
Yeah.
Pulled him out of that house.
He was here in Mobile here recently.
I know.
Yeah.
Drug his butt out of that house, and you were like, I'm not going to let you go to hell,
Well, I thought his brother was going to beat me up that night, I'll be honest with you. He was sitting, the guy had started coming to church and he relapsed and hadn't been there in a while. So instead of like doing what I would call the fake care thing of shooting him a couple texts, I went and knocked on his door, and his wife answered the door, and I said, is he here? And she said, yeah. And I said, can I come in? And he didn't know I was there. And me and Big Mike was like, we were in Section 8, like it was
rough.
Big Mike's like, you sure this is God? I'm like, we're going to find out. I'll never forget that night. Big Mike's
God bless you, Big
Mike is like, I thought we were going to die. And
welcome to the Family Table Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Casto. Man, I'm super excited today to have my good friend, Jimmy Lovejoy. Jimmy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I think it's really important, where the family table concept came from was when I was living in South Carolina. I feel like services were always powerful. Yeah. Sermons, the messages were always powerful. But what was probably equally as important was when you walked away from the service, it was the conversations that we had around the family table that really solidified like what the Lord was saying, what the Lord was doing. Yeah. And I knew that there was an assignment there. I didn't know how that would flush out, but I knew in 2022 when I started doing a podcast again that we were supposed to take those conversations that were happening to help us steward this lifestyle, bring it back to the podcast and allow people to hear kind of like as we're walking together, what's God saying, what's God doing, what's your process look like, and people can learn from that. And I've honestly watched Jimmy since we've known each other since 2013. So this year is 12 years, which is wild. When we first started running together, our kids were super small. And it was wild, man. We could tell so many stories today. But I think of all the people that I've walked with in this journey, everybody's gone through a process. Sure. Everybody's gone through a transformation into the image of Christ. But I would say, man, like when I first met you, you were on a full tilt. Like you were Nazarite, long hair. Y'all were taking country songs and flipping the script on everything and just it was called Overtaken. Your church was called Overtaken. You all, when I first met you, you had just planted that work. Yeah. And listen, if you are ever in those services, Overtaken was a very appropriate name because whatever you brought in there, it got overtaken.
Very true. Very true. Everything.
Yeah.
We afraid to get baptized cold water. Last year you baptized people in April. Heck, no lie. This woman right here in the baptism last circuit riders had baptized you for how many years? 20 years. She goes through the baptism. She goes under once, gets in front of Mark, and Mark just takes her under again. And she believed in that moment of death, burial, and resurrection, literally, hepatitis C got a burial on her.
But I've watched you go from, you still have fire, you still have passion, but I watched you go from a man like Nazarite, full tilt, strong in that Nazarite call.
I believed it. I believed it
100%. To like, I can legitimately say the greatest transformation of peace I've ever seen happen in an individual.
Wow.
And so like what I really wanted to talk about today was kind of like going back to some of like your roots, where you came from, and then kind of like walk through some of those highlight pieces of like, man, this was a marking moment for me. This is what I learned here, what I learned there, and just kind of walk through it because I feel like there are many people that they came out of the same thing. Like they grew up Pentecostal, just like we did. Yeah. They answered, they wore the bands and their hair was long doing the Nazarite call. Sure. We read the books, we went to the conferences, we went to all the things. And I've watched the Lord like bring you out of all of that
Yeah.
and really sit you in a seat of peace. And that's a big transformation. Big. So I'd like to just take me back. Where is Jimmy Lovejoy from?
How far do you want me to go back?
Go back to little Jimmy.
Okay, little Jimmy. Good old Manaway, Ohio, where we actually had planted the gym. So I was going back to my childhood roots when we started our church. And that's a long story. I don't want to go into that big time. But growing up there in northern Ohio, my mom and dad were from Virginia and West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the big connection.
West Virginia
with us,
connection.
those Appalachian mountains, me
Yeah.
and Bobby.
Yeah.
And having those roots, I think, that form of Pentecostalism, the way to say it, the holiness, the legalism, I don't ever want to disrespect it.
Sure.
Because I found God in a big way in it.
Yeah.
But in that, I could say the biggest piece was going back. My mom and dad were always part of Southern gospel groups.
Yeah.
And but I'm also thankful that when my mom and dad picked a home church, they never just picked a home church based on like kids programs and the program. Like it was in revival.
Yeah.
Like out from day one that I can go back and remember, we were always around the move of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Miracle signs, wonders.
You're talking about Papa Raj.
Yeah, my mom and dad were always a part of the move of the Spirit. Like I slept on a pew till 2 a.m. in the morning. We spent weeks and weeks and weeks in revival services. And the cool part of it is even though it was Pentecost or it was apostolic in some, I was able to be in a lot of diversity.
Yeah.
From the Church of God to the apostolic, which we would call like Jesus only,
Sure.
holiness type stuff. Man, if God was moving, we were there, we were in it, we were serving it, we were sowing seed into it. And so being in that, around it my whole, a lot of prophecies when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Some I don't remember, just things my mom and dad would tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Some I remember.
Yeah.
And so in that, I'm just thankful that my mom and dad always had me in a place where God could move on me. And then I would say this, my father was not my biological father. He adopted me.
Mm-hmm.
And that man prayed at my bedside till I was 12.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you could talk about Papa Raj a little bit because I knew he wasn't your biological dad, but he stepped in a big way in your childhood.
Loved me like I was his own. Most people would say I look like him, act like him, talk like him. And so inside of that, he just one of the most giving men I've ever met in my life, and most forgiving man.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people do him wrong through the years. And one thing I could say I'm thankful that I adopted from him is I don't hold a grudge on anybody ever.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the generosity and the honor. I remember I did a podcast with Johan and Elijah Thompson and Cohen, and they said, you're such a man of honor and generosity. Where did that come from? I said, my dad.
Yeah.
My dad and my mom were even if they didn't have it, they'd give it anyway. Whether it was food, clothes, just that type. So, being around somebody who's strong in prayer, strong in seeking just the glory of God is what I would call it. So I was being impacted at a young age. And I can remember probably when I was 11 years old, what we would call in that time being filled with the Spirit, or coming aware of the gift of Holy Spirit. I was 11 years old, and the old saints of God prayed. I wanted it, man. I wanted the power of God, and I remember you were told to seek for it.
Yeah.
And if I look back now, I don't know if it was so much seeking. I was tapping into what was happening in the room.
You were hungry,
and I would just weep.
Yeah.
And one night, it just it was the baptism of the Holy Spirit was just overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was just completely overwhelming. And I remember coming out of that encounter and looking at some of the saints of God going, did I get it? And I remember this one old boy goes, did you get it? He said, son, you've been praying in tongues for 3 hours. So that was it. Yeah, that was just that was the beginning part for me. But being in those church services, seeing those miracles, seeing tumors shrink, seeing people being delivered, transformed in a moment, man, it was just mesmerizing for me.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that you and I share in common. Like people are like, where does this passion come from for the move of the Spirit, miracles, like the power of God? I'm like, of all things that I'm thankful for growing up in the Pentecostal charismatic world was that we were around people in our childhood that believed God and they trusted God and they were pressing into the kingdom and then when something would happen, somebody got a bad doctor's report, when somebody had something they were going through, brother, those people would begin to pray, seek God. I mean, in my dad's church, my dad was the first man in our family to receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And when he began like that journey, he pastored a little church called Ohio Street Pentecostal Church of God. And he pastored that little church, didn't know what he was doing, but he believed God. He had faith. He believed in the manifestation of the Spirit. Brother, I watched cataracts, glaucoma fall out of, like literally, like brown goo run out their eyes into his handkerchief. I watched him pull people out of wheelchairs.
100%.
And so, like, of all things I'm thankful for, if people look at our lives and go, why do you guys like have such a passion for miracles or passion for healing, passion for the move of the Spirit? It's because, brother, when you are raised in that, you can't settle for anything else.
No,
like,
and it was real. It was real.
Exactly. It's real. And it's just in you. It's a part of your DNA.
It was real, and you saw it impact real people's day-to-day lives. You saw it impact families. And one of my favorite things that I loved was the not just seeing the move of God inside a church, but how they would do it outside of the church. Like, it's not that I was just in revival meetings till 2 a.m. in the church service on Sunday night. I can remember multiple times just getting together and having dinner, and that dinner turning into a prayer meeting at the house.
Oh, yeah.
And those saints would be praying in the Spirit and just believing, just interceding.
Yes.
You know, all night long. And you would just, as a kid, just sit on the couch and sit there and cry or just feel the fear of the Lord, fill the room so strong. You just knew God was real. From the time I was a little boy, I never questioned God. He was real to me. Yeah. Jesus was real to me. The scriptures were put in me. Now, as I got into my teenage years, you start to realize, like, I go to the weird church. You know what I'm saying? But still, in that sense, it didn't bother me much.
Yeah,
it didn't bother. Even though I wish I could have done a better job, maybe being vocal in my junior high or high school years.
Sure.
Because I did kind of go astray a little bit at like 16.
Yeah.
And from there till I went to the Marine Corps. But you say go astray. But I understand now, all these years later, what the love and goodness of God was. I may have walked away, but he was still super near.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was super near.
But we didn't
in
have
my whole journey.
We didn't have a theology for that then.
No, we didn't.
Because, like, if you strayed, you're backsliding. Yeah. And then if you're backsliding because of the shame, the guilt, the condemnation, it just drove you further and further away. And then you're like, well, one day when I get serious about God, I'll come back, or whatever. That is the part of growing up that way. Yeah. That was difficult because we didn't have a love of God theology. We knew God loved us, because of what Jesus did.
Sure.
But like, your salvation was kind of fragile.
Yeah. It was like anything you did wrong, like you would begin to hide in the shame because you're going to hell. You didn't know how to. I feel like now, like with union and even just adults, it's so much easier to look through the lens of love and walk with people through stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Verse before, it was like, stop. Like when I started pastoring 12 years ago, I always say this openly. My love was so big for people that struggled. It would almost borderline look like control because I didn't want them to be in dysfunction. So I would try to tell them what to do to stop behaving a certain way. Because that's all I knew. Like, don't do that. Like,
that's going to destroy your life.
Yeah, and it's like, so you only kind of like lead off of what you know.
Of course.
So as love begins to like just help you rediscover everything, leadership, being a father, being a husband. Yes. Yeah. So that's a part of the journey. So I would say, if I would even go back to the young days, like, I saw amazing people.
Yeah.
But still, a lot of them had struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this inside of the Pentecostal movement because I go back to my journey. I always tried to get rid of my passion. And thank God for, a spiritual father in Pops in Damon Thompson, who would look at me and say, no, we need to get rid of the aggression.
Keep the passion.
Keep the passion.
Yeah, that's good.
And so for a season, that was confusing to me because I thought like, I can't be passionate and peaceful.
Yeah.
And you can.
Yeah, 100%.
And so inside of that I feel more authentic today than I've ever felt. But if I go back to like young me, I saw a lot of justice, a lot of judgment in the Pentecostal church, a lot. And inside of that, we could get angry and we could get mad and we could justify it.
It was still an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then you even take that into like leadership or life. You try to help people through justices or through the lens of judgment, and all of that will stem and look like control. When you start, you're acting foolish. I'm justifying how I'm, it's sometimes even how we parent.
Yeah.
We can justify because of the action.
But it's rooted in fear.
Yes.
More than it is like belief in the good news.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think so. Growing up in the move of the Spirit, then fast forward to, we could talk about different transitions and people. Yeah. I want to go to where like you and I first connected.
Okay.
And so like when I came into your life or you came into my life, it was actually really special to me. Like I tell this story and it's hard not to cry when you tell the story, and you can backtrack if you want on this, but you guys had reached out to me. You had saw me preaching on TBN.
Yeah.
And you were like, I think there was a pastor you were serving under that actually saw it first and then told you about it and was like, I really feel like you two guys should connect. And so you end up reaching out to me. By the time that you had reached out to me and we started connecting, you had already transitioned to start planting this church. And you were like, Mark, I'd love for you to come in sometime. Even before that, though, the very first time I met you, before that connection to come preach for you, before that was at an Eddie James Schiff conference in Atlanta. That was a wild meeting, brother.
Yes.
Those were, I think we did those 2 years in a row. Because one year you carried me out of that place.
Yeah.
It got wild.
Yeah.
But the first time that I met you there, I remember I was in my office in Cleveland, Tennessee, where I was leading a ministry there. And I was not scheduled to preach until like later on the conference. And with how busy I was, normally I couldn't get to conferences early or enjoy other days because I had so much to do. But I knew that you were going to be there. And we had kind of like talked through email. But nothing like formal. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, you need to go down there and hear this man. So I got in my car early one morning, drove all the way down to Atlanta from Cleveland, Tennessee. It's like 2.5 hour drive. And I got in that morning service. And when I got in there, I saw, man, as Dr. T.L. Lowry used to say, he was like a man. He was preaching like a man fighting bees, son. He was. He said, Dr. Larry said, he's preaching like a man whose shirt tail's on fire and he's 2 miles from water. But Jimmy you were up there, man, and you were just like the evangelism, the passion for evangelism and rescuing people and it was good and right because we were in a church that was like, you come to church because our building is cool and our ministry is cool. And you were saying, no, it's still about people.
That's
and
right.
like, I go up into crack houses and pull people out and so like you were, when I heard you, I was like, man, this is a man that is passionately in love with God, but also you had a deep love for people that would put yourself in like dangerous situations to like pull people out.
Yeah.
And so that's when I met you. And that's when you sent me the email that you wanted me to come, I was like, this guy's doing the real stuff. I'm going to his church.
Yeah.
But you set me up because you told me to come in. You flew me in on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I coming in on Thursday? You're like, you're coming in on Thursday, and we got services, whatever. So I'm thinking, okay, well, they have a Thursday night, and then we're going to do Friday night and just do the whole thing. When I get there, man, Jimmy goes, we're going to take you to your room. You get rested up or whatever, but we got some stuff for you in the room. And when I got to my room, you guys had Cleveland Indians gear. We will never call them what their name is
That's
now.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And
Go Tribe.
And so dude, in my hotel room, you guys had laid out like Indians gear.
Yeah.
And you were like, we're going to a baseball game. And you looked at me, you're like, because I want to get to know you. Like, I
Yes.
want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
That was so foreign to me because in the ministry world, it was like you fly in or you drive in and they only care about, I mean, I hate to say it.
Yeah.
They only care about the fact that you're there to help them with their thing.
Sure.
You were the first pastor in all of my years of travel that was like, I want to do something for you.
Yeah.
Just to say, I honor you. I love you. I respect you. Like, I want to build a real relationship.
Yeah.
Brother, we went to that Indians game. It was phenomenal. We sat on the third baseline. I had stadium mustard for the first time. You guys bought me an Indians jacket. I'm not even an Indians fan. And there I was, like, full tilt. But man, I want you to know, like, I think our relationship is what it is today because of that seed.
Yeah.
That you cared more about me than me coming in and doing my thing. And dude, that really marked me. But that's our connection there.
Yeah.
But back to like your storyline, like that's where you were, brother. You were passionate because you were referencing it earlier. Like, man, I probably did some things earlier on that I wouldn't do now.
Yeah.
But there was a legitimate passion. And growing up in those Pentecostal charismatic circles, dude, we just don't want people to die and go to hell.
Yeah. Like, seriously, if you're preaching the gospel, I used to say this when we would teach our school ministry back in 2013. Like, it was like, you can teach all the end time stuff you want. And I remember looking at a guy who was very detailed on some end time theology. And I just looked at him. I said, man, I love the fact that you are preparing us for whatever. But if you don't have a heart to go rescue the people, what's the finish line worry for? Like, why are you worried about the finish line if the rapture was called tomorrow? And this is still my thought. If it tomorrow or today, it's like, did I do enough to like help somebody find Jesus? That was like my biggest piece was like, you know, I was raised rapture, I was raised heaven and hell. So it was like, all right, if I now have the call to preach the gospel, then I want to do everything that I possibly can to make sure you don't go there.
Yeah, like everything was motivated on eternal realities.
Yes.
Like I'm only doing this to rescue you now because I don't want you to go to hell.
Yeah.
I want you to heaven. And so like, dude, you really lived that out though. Like a lot of people preached it.
Yeah, I believed it.
But like you literally put your one of the very first stories I remember hearing you tell was you going into a crack house. Mm-hmm. I've met the guy you rescued.
Yeah.
Pulled him out of that house.
He was here in Mobile here recently.
I know.
Yeah.
Drug his butt out of that house and you were like, I'm not going to let you go to hell, you know, like.
Well, I thought his brother was going to beat me up that night. I'll be honest with you. The guy had started coming to church and he relapsed and hadn't been there in a while. So instead of like doing what I would call the fake care thing of shooting him a couple texts, like I went and knocked on his door and his wife answered the door and I said, is he here? And she said, yeah. And I said, can I come in? And he didn't know I was there. And me and Big Mike was like, I mean, we were in Section 8, like it was
rough.
Big Mike's like, you sure this is God? I'm like, we're going to find out. I'll never forget that night. Big Mike's
God
like,
bless you, Big Mike.
Mike is like, I thought we were going to die. And so we went up in there, man, and him and his brother were sitting there drinking beers. And I walked over to both of them, took both their beers out of their hands, dumped them down the sink, put the empty bottles on the thing and sat down at the table next to the one brother who was, you know, an ex-convict. Like, and that brother looked at me and he said, you're either crazy or a man of God. And he said,
and you were like, I'm a little both.
Yeah. At that time, yeah. Being,
I'm a little both.
Being a former Marine, and I know you're not supposed to say that, but I say that. And inside of that, I was like, if we got to fight, we're going to fight, but I'm going to fight you. Like, because the thought was not to beat anybody up. It was to lead them to the Lord.
Yeah.
Like I'm willing to do whatever it takes for you to show that you're loved by Jesus. And like, again, that looks like control.
Yeah. You're like forcing people to follow the Lord.
Because I didn't know any other way. And the family, you talked about the family piece. Like, why did I bring you into a family setting like that? Because I remember when I first started youth pastoring in Akron, I got my first invitation to do the adult Bible study and not the youth. So I was like, man, I'm getting a Wednesday night adult Bible study.
Here we go.
Man, I'm going to come in there. And I'm not a big theologian guy, but I do love the history of revival. Like that's where my big study was. Yeah. And so I taught on revival. I taught Acts chapter 2 that night to the adults.
Yeah, you did.
And I got up and I said, somebody in this congregation, tell me, why do we not have revival today? Like we had it, Dr. Lowry's day, 1940s, 50s. Even my dad would talk about the Jesus People movement when he was a Pentecostal. He got saved in the Baptist church, but then got filled with the Spirit. Yeah. And I all these historical things. And I remember Morris Smith, who was my best friend growing up, his grandfather, Jason Walker Rose's grandfather. We'd played in a Southern gospel group together, and he was a bass singer. So, mind you, he's like 6'4". And man, I said, somebody, and me, I didn't say it like this. Somebody tell me why we don't have revival today, man. And Brother Smith put his hand on the pew, and he stood up. Like, I'm going to answer this question, but I'm going to look you man to man. And I was almost nervous because I was intimidated by Morris Smith a little bit. Yeah. And he looked at me and he said, Brother Jimmy, the reason we don't have revival today, he said, it's because the church doesn't know how to be a family anymore.
Wow.
And he said, if we're going to talk about Acts chapter 2, then we're going to talk about one mind and one accord. Man. He said, and we're not unified anymore.
Golly.
And man, you could just feel the room just. So that statement hit me with such a heart struck. It was like, okay, if I'm going to lead this, whether it's a youth group, whether it's senior pastor, if I'm leading it, then I'm going to lead this thing as a family. And then the reinforcement of family came more. I mean, I have an awesome, amazing family. Yeah. But then I went into the Marines, and that's like you leave no man behind. Like that is like borderline, I'm just going to say probably the biggest cult in America. Yeah. Like you lay down your life for your brothers. Yep. So then you take somebody who has this thought process, then you stick him in church, and that man says that. It's like, okay, if you're running with me, we're going to be as tight as the Marines. Yeah. I'm going to figure out what these guys were laying their life down as martyrs. Mm-hmm. And so like, I'm like believing this hardcore. Oh yeah. And we're going to do this, and we're going to save the world doing it no matter what it looks like. And if they've got these stories of busting Peter out of jail, and I'm going to bust people out of the crack house. Like I'm not going to let this be on the pages. Like we're going to do this. Yeah. We're going to really go after people. Mm-hmm. And then the Lord just so graciously led me and Tina to Cincinnati, Ohio, where I met Jamie Taylor, who was probably just as crazy as I was. He was wild, man. And you put me and him together for 3 years. That was just 3 years of awesome revival.
Corbin, Kentucky. Yeah. And he's the one that was like, Jimmy? I know Jimmy. Jimmy and I ran together, and have you heard Chris Burns? And, and it introduced me to a whole nother deal in the church. But that man cast demons out of,
could prophesy now just and operate in major deliverance. It was amazing. Wild. But he did a huge family. Like we'd have church on Sunday morning, and then we'd go back. Everybody in the church, like there'd be like 200 people in his neighborhood, 250 people at his house. He didn't give a flip. I love that, but I've also learned I don't know how healthy that was.
Sure.
Because there has to be a little bit of space. You
got your own family to take care of.
Yeah. So inside of that, like that led me to when we started what we started at Overtaken. It was like, okay, after James Taylor's influence and after Morris Smith and that whole Smith Walker family and what I saw them do growing up in the church, it's like, okay, we're going to have if I'm leading this,
it's going to be a family.
We're not just going to have Sunday morning, 10 a.m. We're going to do life together. Acts chapter 2.
Well, when I left that first weekend, first of all, your dad hugged me. Yeah. In a way that I had never, dude, that man wrapped his arms around me, and I felt the love of God hit me in ways I have never felt before. That man just, when he hugs you, the love of God just is imparted, dude. Yeah. I used to tell people this. I go to Overtaken to get a hug from Papa Raj. Yeah. He was that marking to me. Yeah. So when I left, I told my wife, I told Bobby and Jesse, I told the people that I knew, I was like, we got to get back up there. Like there's something happening there because I had never seen a group of people be so unified, so passionate.
Yeah.
Like if you said, we're going to go do the Jericho march around the 10-mile radius of the city, they were going to do a Jericho march around that city. Some of the wildest, amazing services I ever been in. And brother, back then, one of my favorite stories is you gave an altar call one time, though. I'll never forget this. You gave this altar call to this person. They weren't answering, and you were talking right to them. Brother, they weren't answering. Next thing you know, there's two older ladies that were partners of our ministry back in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And the one lady, she was probably like 80-some years old. She's just standing there. She got them big yellowish orange glasses, protect her eyes and stuff. And she's just standing there like this. All of a sudden, I watch a folding chair just cross her face.
We got like all the chairs out of the way.
Jimmy had parted the Red Sea of the chairs and made a path for that person to answer the altar call. And I'm just like, looking back now, it's funny. But in that moment, like, I didn't know anybody as passionate for souls as you. I still probably don't. I'm saying that was your passion, and I've watched you grow and evolve and grow in love and grow in peace.
Yeah.
But I think that people sometimes see that kind of passion. They see that kind of pursuit, and they do see it as control. They do see it as you trying to but really what that is, it's the same thing that's like fear-based parenting.
Yeah.
It's like you end up without you're doing something from a place of love as you know it.
Sure.
Which is rooted in fear.
Yeah.
But because you love them, in fear for them, you're like, I don't want you doing that. There's a better way.
Yeah.
I want to show you the better way. I'll do it for you if I could.
Yeah.
Like that was your passion. And I think people can see it that way. But I've watched you over the years evolve out of that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like, dude.
And it's a process. I wish it was a miracle, but it's been a process over 10 years.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today was that's who you were when I first met you. Demons being cast out. I've literally watched you hip toss a man. Like in those early days, it was wild.
Whatever it took.
Word of knowledge. The gifts were flowing. There was passion. There was violence. It was like, not violence, but you know what I mean? It was like whatever it takes.
Remember when I punched that wall in Oklahoma? Wow, in that gym.
And it was like, boom. And then homeboy that you gave a word about.
I gave it to his daughter first.
Gave the word to the daughter. And then all of a sudden, here comes dad out of prison. And gets just radically wrecked in the presence of God. Anyways, like, dude, all of that is there. And you had a pace that was like unimaginable. Like, I don't know how you did it. Like you and your family are like a different breed when it came to that, especially in that season.
Yeah.
I've watched you all not only like evolve in pace, which equals peace, but I've watched you guys form. I mean, it's like, I'll say it this way. I've watched you guys stay on the potter's wheel for 12 years.
Yeah.
And I've watched you allow the Holy Spirit to put his finger and his hands on whatever area of life is necessary.
Yeah.
That's a big deal because some people are like, I want to serve Jesus and I'll let him change this part of my life.
Sure.
But like, dude, I've watched you. Tina's always been amazing. Just sending that out. Kids are amazing. I've watched you though.
Yeah.
I've watched them be transformed by how much you've been transformed.
Yeah.
And I've seen it up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad part is it hurts my heart. People that, in a sense, people that began with you that didn't quite take the rest of the journey with you, they only remember that part of you.
Sure.
And like, dude, I've watched you become a man of peace, a man of love. Now, still will stand 10 toes down for what you believe in, but like there's a love there and a peace there that was not present when I first met you. It was love, but it was still rooted in that fear that we grew up in.
Yeah, it didn't have that full, because I've been studying love crazy probably for the last 3 months. I want to know the love of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, I look back to, I say it like this, the Nazarite thing. How do you end up in a Nazarite vow? Well, a guy like me who has played sports his whole life and was good, not just me, the teams I played on.
Yeah.
The family of athletes that I played with, the dedication, the camaraderie. I still talk to some of those guys to this day. And then you go into the Marine Corps and you find this camaraderie of elitism. I want people to really hear us in this podcast. So you have Pentecostalism roots, which in the church world, denominational wise, we're the elites because we have the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And we believe in miracles and we speak in tongues and you don't. Then you have athletics reinforcing childhood of you work your tail end off and now you're elite. You're the best in the county, the state, the whatever.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you go into a branch of the military that they'll fight you right now if you told us we were second place to the Army, the Navy, whatever. And so in that you find this message called the Nazarite. And when you hear the guy that was delivering it, the nation, the world has not yet seen their long hairs. It's like, hold on a second. I made a vow to defend this country as a Marine, and now you're telling me that I can also defend my God in heaven with a vow again, an oath to grow my hair, not touch a dead thing, not drink strong wine. And I even went crazy with it, not listen to secular music, not eat sweets. I was doing 21-day fasts, 4 a year, 140-day fast a year.
Yeah.
It was discipline, training. But the one thing that it never fixed was my character. The Nazarite vow never reinforced the character of Jesus.
Yeah.
It reinforced the character of the Marine or the athlete or the coach. So it reinforced justice and judgment to what I would perceive what is right and what I would perceive what is wrong.
Yeah.
And the bad part, God, I don't want to say the bad part, God would acquiesce. He does that.
Yeah.
He'll meet us where we are, especially when we have a firm belief in it, when good is coming forth and there is a level of love, but not in its fullest expression.
Yeah.
And so when there is love that is present and you keep searching, because he made us a promise, if we search for him, we'll find him.
That's right.
So inside of that, we keep searching for love and love keeps appearing in different ways. And so from 2013, all the way, I'll never forget, we're in Carolina the one time, and I really started to expose my character to a spiritual father. And what happened was I have a pace like no other. So when I say a pace like no other, and I want leaders and fathers to hear me, we did something at the church every night. Not only would we do something at the church every night, my kids were in sports. I was coaching sports.
Yeah.
And I'm pastoring and I'm traveling and preaching with you and my own itinerary.
Yeah. I'm like, how does this guy do all this?
And we were driving down to South Carolina once a month. And so in this, we're building a church in Streetsboro, Ohio. And in the midst of building it, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm an early bird. And I didn't get home that night till about 2 a.m. Well, when I got home, somebody had let the trash out. Well, if I would have been home to take the trash out, nobody would have left the trash out. Somebody needs to hear me. I could justify my frustration that somebody didn't put the trash in the trash cans. They left them out by the back door. But if I was home, that never would have happened.
Yeah.
And so our dogs got into the trash and I'm cleaning up trash at 2 o'clock in the morning. So next thing you know, I'm huffing and puffing and I'm mad and I wake Tina up and I wake the kids up and I want to know who let the trash out. And so the next day, Tina's like, I ain't living like this. There are fathers, there are preachers, there are husbands that you're so busy, you can't see that when your temper and your aggression gets lost, it's because if you would slow down, the things that need to get done around you, you can actually do.
That's right.
And so I'm just being real vulnerable here because that was a big turning point for me.
Yes.
And, that's when Pops came in and said, have we ever thought about slowing things down? And I'm like, slow things down. Like, we're over 500 people in 3 years. Like, I thought the goal is to get to 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We're having once a month revival meetings in that gym, the Cry of Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
And then not only did we do the Cry of Ohio in the north, we did it in the south with about probably 2,000 to 3,000 people. Remember when we did that big one?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like everything that you would want is ministerial success. And I don't have the pedigree of most people. I just have passion.
Mm-hmm.
But it was being noticed, and it was being noticed by the right people in revival culture. And so in that, I'm thinking we're heading in the direction that we need to head in. And the Lord just puts a halt on everything. And he brings the right people in your life to slow you down, to get you to start to see what's the most important.
Yeah.
I listened to your podcast today with Jason Clark.
Yeah.
And I love how he kept saying that my first ministry is my wife.
That's right.
And I'll never forget when me and you and Bobby in 2015 were sitting at a table. And we were sitting at a table with Pops and 10 other leaders. And Pops asked all of us one question: what is revival? And I had just come out of a sabbatical of that situation of building and having that kind of meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going on the sabbatical, and I asked the Lord, what is revival to Jimmy Lovejoy? And the Lord told me, your wife. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden, Pops asked the question to all of us, hey, what's revival to you guys? And everybody's giving all these amazing theological answers. And I'm the last one. And Holy Spirit's going, you better tell everybody at this table what I told you. And I'm going, no, I've got to say like, Cane Ridge and Azusa Street and
Charles Finney,
Smith Wigglesworth. And it gets to me. And I looked at everybody and I said, the Lord's telling me right now, revival for me is my wife. In the peak from 2013 to 2016,
mm-hmm.
when it's supposed to be a rocket launcher going off,
mm-hmm.
or like Pop says, the bottle rocket.
Yep.
The Lord then started, and that was that 2016, I think, for both of us. After that meeting
mm-hmm.
in 2015, we head into 2016,
mm-hmm.
and the Lord tells us it's time to slow down.
Yep.
It's time to start trimming things away. And, I can remember when we shut the food bank down and lost like 100 people over it, but now I'm money laundering and everything else. And it's like, we gave the money to the other food bank in the city. Like to this day, we take money and take food to other food banks who are doing it better than us.
Yeah, sure. You're not supposed to do everything.
Yeah. And we start partnering with the kingdom. And the biggest thing for me was like, I get to Carolina Revival on a baptism one time, and Pops goes, are we ready to bury the Marine? That got mentioned to me in 2016, and I don't even know if it fully happened until like 2022.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy how when people see your weaknesses, 'cause I did it.
Mm-hmm.
People see weakness and we want to deal with it right now.
Yep.
Rather than understanding, it took years to get in here.
It might take a little time.
It might take a little time to get out. Especially when what people see as weakness, other people see as strength. And this is where the tug of war happens. Some people are seeing the weakness in you, and then other people are using it as strength.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
And so my ability to do a lot and delegate and lead and even help change and transform and reform things, some people are going over here like, man, he's a little too intense. And some people are over here saying, go for it, go for it, go for it.
Yeah.
Because results are happening. There's a friend of mine in Streetsboro, Jeff Allen says, he said, Jimmy Lovejoy, you intimidate people because you're a shaker and a mover. And so inside of that has stuck with me. I love that I'm a shaker and a mover and I can help reform and move things around. But I've also learned, a decade later that pace and peace
mm-hmm.
have to be your compass.
Yeah.
And so the most challenging part for me was when that time came and he said, in a baptism, we're going to bury the Marine. I'm going, I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so the Lord comes after that identity.
Mm-hmm.
Then he comes after the coaching identity.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately last, he comes after what I've been telling the union students, my last name and where I was raised.
Mm. Yeah.
Those were the three things that I've had to go through to like finally begin to start dialing in on the love of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had all these things that I thought were making up who I was in identity. And the Lord's going, nope. And here's what people don't want. You know, you feel like you get over something and then that little leaven.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, the worst thing for my character while I was pastoring and loving people was actually being a coach. The competitive nature that was in me to win, to bring excellence. You know, people that were on my team loved me. People that weren't on my team hated me. You know, and then I would justify that. Well, this is my family. This is who I'm.
Yeah.
But then as a kingdom aspect, dude, I wasn't representing Jesus well at all.
Yeah.
And I hope this is ministering to some men out there. Like when it's all said and done, I'm thankful for my athletic background. I'm thankful for my Marine background. But when I look at my kids right now at 15, 16, and 17 years old, and I'm looking at my children, and I've been in Mobile now for 2 years, and my sons who are like nationally good wrestlers,
Mm-hmm.
like if they put the effort, time, and all that, they could like go national.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they haven't wrestled competitively in a year and a half. And I thought it would be the end of the world. And I'm realizing it's not the end of the world.
No.
We're being lied to on what we think in the culture is important
Mm-hmm.
versus the kingdom. And the church is blurring that lines probably more than anybody that I know on
True.
the planet.
True.
And I'm not saying your kids shouldn't be in athletics and all that stuff because I'm thankful. I'm thankful for teamwork. I'm thankful for hard work, all
Learn
that
a lot
kind
of
of
great
stuff.
lessons. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, you know, just to kind of circle back around to where we got in this, you know, the Nazarite thing in the gym and that push, it's elitism. And then on the flip side of it, if you have any kind of rejection at any point in your life, somebody lied on you, betrayed you, stabbed you in the back, you have a wound, man, you're going to do like this.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to try to hold your world in
Oh, yeah.
like this. And that's not the love of God, man.
No.
It's just not.
That's fear.
You know?
And then perfect love comes in and casts out that fear.
Yeah.
So I would say, I mean, like I've watched how you've changed in your pace. I've watched how you've changed in how you deal with people. I've watched how, I mean, I've literally, again, the greatest way I can say it is I've literally watched you keep yourself on the potter's wheel and keep saying yes to being transformed and changed. And then I've also watched you have to deal with people that remember you before you were changed.
Sure.
And that's difficult because you hope, and we all go through this, you would hope that people would realize, like, if they would have stayed on the potter's wheel,
Yeah.
you know, like, then they would understand your potter's wheel.
Sure.
And so, like, it's like, I want to be a witness today on the family table to go, I watched God bury the Marine. I've watched God bury the coach. And I've watched you come out the other side. Like, sometimes I will, like, hear you say things and I'm like, the Jimmy I met and the one talking to me right now,
Yeah.
they're completely different individuals. And who in the world has an expectation that any man or woman is perfect?
Sure.
You know, but I will say, and I've said this publicly, I've said this privately, you're the greatest transformation of beloved identity I've seen.
Wow.
And have loved me and my family really well. And our relationship today is so strong, but it wasn't strong because we never went through anything.
Yeah.
We also went through challenges too. You and I in the early years, like we butt heads many times and saw things from like, especially when we traveled together as circuit riders, like we would butt heads and you know, we came from two different types. Like, even though we grew up in the Pentecostal world, we also were trained in different environments. So you come out of a heavy warfare environment.
Yeah.
I came out of a heavy rapture and end time environment. You came out of just like, I'm invading the crack house. I'm over here in a $23 million facility thinking in some ways I've arrived or whatever.
Sure.
And so, like, when our worlds collided, I truly believe now the scripture that says brothers are born for adversity.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And so like, I can't even imagine my life now without you guys in it. But it's not because it didn't go through challenges and change. But the one thing I can say about both of us is we remained on the potter's wheel.
Yes.
And we kept saying, I'm not the man that I want to be,
Right.
but he's making me the man that I know I am.
Yeah.
And anytime, and this is why these conversations are really important, because when there are the butting of the heads together, when there is the fights and the frustration and the disagreements, you and I made a commitment to each other that we would always bring it to the table.
Yeah.
Always. We're going to talk it out.
The hard conversations you talk about. Communication is key. Matthew 18.
Proverbs 26:26. I believe it's Proverbs 26:26. The sign of true friendship is honest conversation.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, in 10 years, as we have really been transformed into an actual family, like what we have with the Limleys, with you guys, that's family.
Yes.
And so like these relationships are so special, okay? But it's because we constantly we stayed on the potter's wheel. We constantly have honest conversations. And when we got offended, mad, upset, disagreed, we didn't isolate ourselves from each other. Sure. We talked through those things.
Yeah.
And dude, I've watched this over the years. I don't know what this is, but it's love is exposing what is of love's kind.
Sure.
And dude, I don't know what it is, but our relationship is what it is today because we stayed unoffendable and had those conversations. And man, now it's almost like you don't even have to do anything astronomical. People get offended and they will never join you at the table again and have those conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that just shows me how un-Christ-like people can be at times. They can go to church, say they love Jesus, but it shows up in relationship.
Yeah.
And if you can't do Matthew 18, and if you can't sit at the table, you will never be able to sit here and tell people like we are today, hey, we've had our challenges and ups and downs, but in 12 years, we're not like brothers, we are brothers.
Yeah.
And it's because you stayed on the potter's wheel. We stayed on the potter's wheel. When stuff didn't make sense, you asked questions. When there was offense, we didn't sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
We called each other. We met. We talked, and we prayed.
Yeah.
And dude, I just want to say to you, like, I just appreciate not only your commitment to the potter's wheel, but your commitment to always show up and have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
To me, that's Jimmy Lovejoy.
That's what I learned from my dad. You know, my mom and dad were always the one, they never held a grudge. They were always, I actually had been studying some things about grudges and stuff like that because I want to know because I think one of the things that plagues the church world right now is something called church hurt.
Oh, yeah, man.
And I put a post out a while back.
Join the club.
I put a post out called, and I said, let's stop calling it church hurt. It's unforgiveness. And unforgiveness is a prison.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it went viral because so many people want justice, you know, for being done wrong. And I get it.
And in the natural sense, justifiable.
Yes, I completely get it. So,
but un-Christ-like if not dealt with.
Yes. And so in that, like, when you say stay on the potter's wheel and stay in the process, we have to then go back to like when we all got introduced to this beloved identity message.
Mm-hmm.
There was a phrase that Pops used back in the day called facelessness and formlessness. And many people don't go past that.
Yeah.
When the Lord starts dealing, like Abba's child book, when the Lord starts bringing things out of hiding, you start dealing with the imposter or who, when I say imposter, it's not like you being a hypocrite. It's you being identified wrongly, even by the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times I was okay with allowing people to like the goof off, the court gesture, laugh at the jokes.
Yeah.
But in the inside of that, I almost committed suicide because I started to actually believe the lie that I was the butt of the family.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, I went through the dark night of the soul with Pops. because I allowed people to say things about me, and then I started believing those things.
Yeah. They started off as little jokes, little things.
Little
but then
sarcasms,
they
little
become
criticisms.
That whisper in the
It
ear.
begins to grow. And so if that happens inside of, kingdom family, what happens inside a biological family? What happens
Sure.
inside the local school system? We have a society that, by the time some people get to the church and they receive the unveiling of the salvation of the Lord,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean, in some cases, it does mean they're healed.
Sure.
But from that moment on, we need relationships so much to walk us through certain things. And I'm not talking about codependency, but like you're saying, God puts different people in your life to help you walk through some things so that you may be healed. Confess your faults one to another.
Yes.
So that you can pray for one another. The fiery prayers of the righteous availeth, man. So you can be healed in this moment of confession. And then to ever think that offenses aren't going to come when you do life with people.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said, you are going to be offended, but those that aren't rooted in Christ, they'll be easily offended.
Yeah.
And so I don't want those offenses to stick.
Yeah.
I have been offended at times, but when I get offended, I make the phone call. But I don't make the phone call to justify. One of the greatest things Pop's ever taught me and Tina, we went to him for our marriage one time, 10 years ago, one time. And inside of that, he said, there's traits that you guys bring with your last name. And so there was, I'm not saying there is today, but in our childhood, the way our families are raised, a lot of debating.
Sure.
A lot of frustration, somewhat quarrel. And so we brought that into our marriage.
Yeah. And
inside of that, he asked me, he said, there's supposed to be healthy tension in relationships. The greatest relationships are going to have tension.
Yes.
And you walk through those things. But the only way you can walk through those things is you can't have contention.
Yes.
You can't contend. You can't go into a relationship with a win and a loss. You have to go in there with a resolve or reconciliation. I was talking with Mike Manici the other day, one of the elders at our church in Ohio, and he said, the problem with the American church is they don't want reconciliation. They want restitution.
That's so true.
But we're not looking to reconcile things.
No.
We're not bringing Jesus with us. We're bringing restitution in. We want results of you need to pay a price for what you did to me.
Crucify him.
And Jesus is going, I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't want Jesus to pay the price for somebody's wrongdoing. We want them to pay the price. And then if we see that person do it again and again and again, Jesus even told us to pray for those enemies. He even went as far to tell us to bless them. Try to do something to bring them to light, to make them begin to see the wrong of their doing. It doesn't matter who the person is. Lecturing someone, screaming at someone is not going to change. Now, this is different if they're breaking the law.
Yeah.
You bring that before the right authorities to make them stop doing what they're doing if they're breaking the law.
Right.
But when we're talking about bad character or behavioral issues or somebody who has the wrong cycles of relationship,
right,
the best way to break anybody out of any kind of cycle like that is love.
100%.
Love covers, love wins,
love's patient,
triumphs.
Love's patient, love's kind.
We don't want to say the next part.
Yeah.
Love keeps no records of wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
And if John is correct that God is love, and that's the first three characteristics that Paul wrote.
Dude, when Paul talks about the declaration of righteousness in Romans chapter 4, he said, and he gives you what the declaration of righteousness is. It's this: I will never hold your sins against you. Dude, that's 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah.
Holds no record of wrong.
Yeah.
And so you're so right. Like in this hour, Jimmy, this is why I think the family table conversations are so important. When the political assassination, that's what it was, with Charlie Kirk happened.
Yeah.
In I guess it was September of last year. It was a devastating thing because he was so known
Yeah.
and such a public figure, and to see him see that happen to him in public was such a big thing. Everybody saw it.
Yeah.
And as I sat there and prayed about it, I was like, how have we gotten here as a nation where somebody, for whatever reason, so disagreed with him that he's willing to take his life because of two conflicting, contending ideas.
Yeah.
And I heard the Holy Spirit say this. He said, the reason why there's this kind of stuff's happening in public is because the church is not willing to meet in private and have these conversations.
Yes.
The church, just like it was in Israel, however it was among the priests is how it was among the nation. If the priest failed in their pursuit and pursuit of God, then Israel followed suit. The church sets the tone for the culture, period. And when people can't get over minor offenses, character issues, showing forgiveness, like what we're talking about, then that's what leads to these crazier things that are happening in the culture, is because we can't even sit at the table together. No. And dude, I know you've gone through this. Oh, Desi and I've gone through this with every transition. Transition's hard. Transition sucks. People get hurt. You try not to hurt anybody and people get hurt.
Yes.
You try to transition things like I was telling Desi in the first podcast, we hate transition so bad. I know people in my dad's church that got offended because somebody sat in their seat that had never been to church there before a day in their life.
Or move the piano to one side to the other side of the stage.
People are like, no, don't change the way I have things.
Yes.
Okay. And so then when transition happens, then it's almost like people hate it so much, and then stuff gets blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
And he said this, and she said this, and and then all of a sudden the enemy just swirls in that, and then before you know it, many times, and we've had two massive transitions in ministry in our adult life, brother. You try to make things right with people, they refuse to sit at the table and talk to you about it.
Yeah,
that is wild to me, because the price that has to be paid to have these type of relationships is that you're just willing to sit at the table with each other.
And I'm okay. We have to be okay as leaders and even as husbands and fathers to sit at the table, not just with church people, but with family members and with anybody, and let them talk. Let them say what they need to say.
Exactly.
Because I say it like this: there's truth in everything. And then on the flip side of that, we have to have mercy on their lens.
Yes.
We have to have mercy.
100%.
One of the things I think 10 years leading now, I was very much, 12 years ago, a my way or the highway guy. That's the Marine. That's the coach. You call the plays.
Yep.
The player listens to the coach and you follow the thing. But now when you start understanding the mercy of God, like you watch movies like The Shack, you read books like Ruthless Trust and Abba's Child or The Sacred Journey.
Yeah.
And then I've been reading books by another author that a lot of people don't know, and I'm thankful for it, by a guy named Malcolm Smith. And he's wrecked my theology and wrecked just my love for people, my love for God, and has made me a very patient, merciful man. Even when people there's still moments in the moment, I'm not saying I'm perfect. In the moment, I still get aggravated.
But you make it right.
But man, I'm telling you, the next day, I'm praying for the individual. I'm praying for the situation. I'm praying for resolve. And I'm the type of person, I would do anything to make it right.
Yeah, same.
I'm so willing
Sometimes that hurts me.
I'm so willing to take the low road to get to the high road together.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is what the body of Christ needs, to blur denominational lines and just blur the lines of our justice and our judgments to just get to the point. I don't have to believe rapture like you. I don't have to believe warfare like that. I told you, I texted you the other day, I went to Bishop Jakes' church.
Yeah.
And man, there's some things that I don't agree that happened in the room, but it still didn't affect my ability to worship Jesus, my ability to hear Jesus in the message, see Jesus in the people. You have to have the heart to look at people and find God because he's there.
That's right.
Even in the worst of the worst.
Yeah, that's right.
He's there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm becoming a person that's a firm believer. I don't know if there's any bad people on the planet. They've just been through bad things.
And probably haven't been loved.
Yeah. And the early days of my ministry, I thought I could help and fix everybody. I have realized now, 12 years in, I can't. And, you know, if I could tell people to have mercy for people, you know, I'm a father of 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to live in the regret of things that I did to my children, how I raised them in the early days. I just don't. I'm forgiven. I'm loved by the Lord. That's over.
And they turned out great.
Yes. So I also have to look at it. And I said this to an individual one time that I hurt. And I said, man, I'm sorry that, you know, you were with me in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry how I led you. I said, and this individual has a lot of children. I said, do you parent your youngest? Because you have Blissy. You could answer this question.
Oh, yeah.
You parent Blissy different than you do Elijah.
100%.
Because why? Over 16 years, Blissy's 1.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's older than 1.
Yeah, she's 4 now.
She's 4 now.
But still,
you have
I
learned.
parent way different with her than I did at Elijah.
Yes. So, man, we want the word process for ourselves, but we then, in the love of God, have to extend that to our brother.
Extend the grace to let people evolve, to let them grow, especially pastors and leaders, man. I'm telling you, 90% of the offense that happens could be solved with a single conversation.
Yeah.
And most of the time, leaders, pastors, people in general, if they did something to offend you or hurt you, if you would have brought it to them, they'd have made it right.
Yeah.
And and you would have found out they never would have intended. That was never their intention to hurt anyone or anything. They're doing the best they can. Yeah. And that's got to be, that grace has to extend both ways. Mm-hmm. Not only grace to yourself, but grace to others. And it's super important, man. Super important what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like what I told you the other day. From the Charlie Kirk incident or to any kind of incident, you know, we wouldn't get 2/3 of the New Testament in today's church culture because we'd have crucified Paul because of all of his murders of his past.
Yeah.
We couldn't allow Paul to have the mercy of grace on his life.
Or David.
Yeah.
King David. You have to rip out the book of Psalms.
Yes.
Same thing.
We have to, you know, and we're going to continue to have this struggle as long as the message of heaven and hell and rapture is the predominant message of the gospel, because what we're doing is we're striking a gavel. We're bringing the judicial system of the American court system into the gospel. And what we're doing is we're striking the gavel saying it has to have a final result. And Jesus said, it did. It is finished.
It is finished. You're forgiven.
Forgive them, for they do not know what they do. He's being murdered, and he's trying to show us. So if the cross is the way to life, it's not just the one who lays down their life.
Right.
In the death. It's one who lays down their life in opinion.
That's right.
We forget the words that he said. And if words create our world, he says it's finished. And then he also says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Why were they crucifying Jesus? Because one, it's where they're raised. It's who they are. It's what they're doing. It's not right by any stretch of the imagination. But in that, Jesus was trying to show us what his mercy and grace would look like, what his unending love, never ending.
And showing us how to love.
Yes. And we're all just learning it. So, you know, the journey for the beloved identity, the age of peace, you know, the whole thing coming in faceless, formless. Then he tells us, you're loved, you're loved, you're loved, you're loved. And I'm going, oh my God, I got so much baggage. And then the next message, I don't know if I've ever got to tell you this. I almost felt like I was going to disconnect from the family when he came with the get rid of Ishmael. That message messed with me. No more striving. No more working hard. I'm going, my God, that's how I was raised. I was
that's all I know.
Brick block, stonework, concrete patios, you know what I'm saying? Like down in the muck, marine, like you're telling me not to work hard? And it was like, I almost felt like I lost myself, but I didn't realize how much I needed to kick Ishmael out of the camp.
Yeah.
That was falsely identifying me.
Yeah.
you know?
big.
And then I can't stress enough to people that when the coach got dealt with and I moved to Mobile and I sat 6 months on a back porch. And that's when I discovered from my roots of childhood that Holy Spirit wasn't power.
Mm-hmm.
He was comforter and friend. And that was the book by Malcolm called Put Your Past Behind You.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was some cheesy book that a friend of
somebody
mine named
gave it
Roy,
to- yeah.
it was Roy from Oakland, Pastor
Of course
Roy.
it was.
So yeah, Roy hands me this book and goes, I feel like you're supposed to read this. I looked at the cover. It was so janky. I threw it on my desk. It sat there for 6 months. And then finally I saw Roy again. He's like, did you read that book? I'm like, nah, I haven't had time yet. And I'm like, I'm not going to read that book. That book, Put Your Past Behind You. Like, I've been in ministry 20 years now. I've been pastoring for 12. Like, I'm not reading that book.
Yeah.
And man, we hit New Year's last year or 2 years ago. And something like within this last 2 years. But it's been a year because I was in Union was when I started reading that book. They're reading Abba's Child and I'm reading. I felt Holy Spirit say, pick that book up. And I start reading that book, and man, it's like it's reading my life, the evangelism, overtaking the gym. This guy plants this church. It's all about a pastor that gets burned out pretty much.
Yeah, you got wrecked.
Bro, I got to chapter 5 and 6 of that book.
I remember you calling me after you had this crazy
My wife
encounter.
held me like a baby on our couch. My kids came in and started weeping. The glory of God had filled my house so much.
Wow.
Because in that chapter, the man tried to resign from his church. His people wouldn't let him because they were so connected as a family. They wouldn't let him resign. He felt like he was worthless. He couldn't do anymore.
Wow.
God was dealing with his identity because the church had exploded in New York City and then it started to shrink a little bit and God was messing with him. And one of the elders stand up and said, we're going to send you to the Virgin Islands. If anybody hears this, you want to bless me and Mark.
Take our wives, not just us.
Yeah. So yeah, we're not going together. So, so in the book, his family goes on a 2 week sabbatical, and he said the first week, and I know you can really hit on this. He said his mind shut down, or no, his body shut down. The first week, his body came into rest.
Mm-hmm.
The second week, the Lord started dealing with his mind, and he said that he was laying on the beach, and his wife was meeting some new people, and he said he was laying there and he screamed to God and he said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, Holy Spirit responded to him and said, I never asked you. He said, I love you, but I need you to stop referring to me as power and might. And I need you to understand that I'm your friend. I'm your comforter. I'm compassion. I'm kindness. And I never asked you to do anything, but I will partner with you. That's what it says in the book.
Wow.
He said, the Lord told him, I never asked you to save anybody. I never asked you to deliver anybody. I've never asked you to grow a tree. I've never asked you to make a sunrise or set. You put all that pressure on yourself.
Wow.
He said, but I'll partner with you to watch a tree grow.
Come on.
And I'll partner with you to watch a sunrise. And we can partner together as I save someone.
Wow.
As I deliver someone.
Wow. Yeah, that book had your name on it.
Bro, it was like
Beautiful.
the finally finishing pieces in my living room in morning devotion. I just felt the striving, the earning, it like just all melted off of me.
Golly.
And I just looked at my wife and I said, I don't have to do anything. And for 6 months, the first 6 months I was here, I moved here in the summer. So we're not in Union yet. You know, we're not in Union. I moved here in February. It's now like right before Union, like first part of August. I'm reading this book.
Union University.
Yeah. And, you know, the whole time I'm here, I'm asking Pops like, hey, what do you want me to do? Like, I'll park cars. I'll do it. I found myself running the vacuum. I still run the vacuum, but like KK wouldn't let me do anything. Pops wouldn't let me do anything. I was doing nothing but sitting on my back porch, learning how much Jesus loved me.
So beautiful, man. So beautiful.
Just learning how much I'm loved without ever having to touch a microphone again. Learning to trust the leaders I have in Ohio. And I can remember right before that, I was reading Ruthless Trust. And in the one part of the book, I heard the Lord say, I need you to tell me I trust you. And I said, what do you mean, Lord? I do trust you. He said, no, I need you to say it. And I started like having to decree it. I trust you for my finances. I trust you for my church. I trust you for my kids. I trust you. I didn't realize how much mistrust I had in me. I said that first thing, and then it just kept flooding out of me.
Wow.
And so I get entangled into the trust and love of God. And then I go into this thing about, I don't have, and mind you, this is not a license tonight. I'm not lazy by any means.
No.
Like if you had a conversation with, our apostle.
Yeah, you're not lazy.
Papa D would tell you like Jimmy can handle a workload. And, but what I had to know was I didn't have to knock the ball out of the park.
Right. Didn't have to perform.
And it doesn't have to happen today.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to happen right now. And I get to enjoy my kids.
Yeah, we're on the long path.
I get to enjoy my wife.
Yep.
And I'm so thankful God moved me down here the last 2 years of my life, because I went from having to have this pressure to save everybody I came across.
Mm-hmm.
And I will prophesy over you in a Walmart. I would lay hands on this. You're in a wheelchair in a gas station. It didn't matter. I don't care where you were at. I felt like the end was near. I'm a Nazarite, a part of the elite group.
Yep.
I'm fasting to make these things happen. And God was doing it. I saw tumors shrink. I preached in Honduras. I watched a man who was paraplegic for 30 years in a prison in Honduras stand up and run around the room. And then so people go, was God moving now? Yeah. I'm seeing marriages. Have we seen miracles? Yeah. I've seen miracles too.
Yep. Sure.
We've seen miracles. I mean, my son is a miracle right now with his rheumatoid arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
We're still seeing miracles, but most importantly, I'm starting to see the love revolution start.
Oh, yeah.
Which is going to produce more miracles, more signs and wonders. And we're going to now have the legacy long path of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because now our kids want to be in church.
That's right.
Our kids want to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so inside of that, my kids see me love mommy, which, by the way, I talked about having that meeting with Pops. And your response is everything to what you hear.
That's right.
What you do with what you hear will determine what you see.
That's right.
And so inside of that, I'll never forget the first time I made a decision to not yell at my wife anymore. It was probably 8 years ago in our new house in Streetsboro that we're about to sell. And we did our last Christmas there. And all my wife and kids and everybody said, let's talk about a memory that we have in this house that's a memorial stone. And for me, I was able to look at Tina and go, it was 8 years ago, around the first Christmas when we bought this house. I wanted to argue with you, and I heard the Holy Spirit say, don't respond to her that way. And I chose to listen to that whisper.
It's amazing.
And it changed everything from that day forward.
Come on, man. It's beautiful. This is why we have this podcast, because I wanted Jimmy to kind of just share. This won't be the first and last time he's on the podcast. He'll come. We live here, so we can do this a lot of times. But I feel like today was important because I wanted to show you a living proof that this beloved identity is changing people. Pastor, Marine, coach, and you said yes to those processes that the Lord had you on. And Jimmy really is a great example of not taking himself off the potter's wheel, saying yes to becoming of love's kind. Doesn't mean that it's perfect. There's not challenges that still exist in that, but we are growing and learning in love.
Yeah.
And man, I'm proud of you. And
Thank you.
as a brother, I really am. Like your family, you, Tina, the kids, are invaluable to the Castos, man. And I'm just really, really thankful. So guys, if you enjoyed this podcast today, simple ask, make sure you subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you share this with somebody on social. And also, if this podcast has been a blessing to you, consider becoming a partner. Partners are amazing, Jimmy, and you know this.
Yep.
Partners are amazing because if they do a monthly recurring gift, it helps you plan how you can build in the future. And man, we're believing for God to raise up many, many people that are watching this to become partners to help us continue to have conversations like this and produce the content that we believe God's telling us to through Long Path Publishing. So really appreciate you guys watching this today, and appreciate you, Jimmy, sharing your heart, man. It was beautiful.
Man, this is just the beginning. I believe this with all my heart. Those that are listening to this podcast is going to give you guys a behind the veil of this kingdom family of who we really are. You know, a lot of times people see the personality or just the style on a pulpit.
Yeah.
And, you know, the union students say it all the time. When they get to know who we are, you know, not behind the teaching, but how we actually live our day to day. And then the vulnerability of like what we're talking about today. I made mistakes.
Sure.
Owning those mistakes.
That's right.
Repenting, moving forward. This is going to be a treasure for many moms and dads, many leaders. Like I'm speaking this into you, and I'm speaking it into all the viewers. Like when I first met Mark, I was in a conference and we were in the prayer room, and I heard the Lord mention a mantle. And I'm not going to say who, but it was a significant man of God in our nation. And there was a prophet in there leading the prayer meeting saying, ask for the mantle. And I'm like, I'll take it. And I heard the Lord say, it's not yours. And I said, Lord, then whose is it? Why would you ask that question here? And the Lord told me it's Mark Casto's. And I remember in that meeting at the end, washing your feet and putting oil on your feet. And I remember the Lord telling me that it was through radio and TV cameras and meeting with significant people in our nation.
Yeah.
You would help lead us. And viewers, if you want to know where we're being led, when I first met Damon Thompson in 2009, I had a dream, and it was like Martin Luther King Jr. calling the nation out of racism. I saw Papa D on the Lincoln Memorial calling out America back to God. And it would be crazy for us to put all of that pressure on one man's shoulders and us not have a family to help trumpet that message.
That's right.
And I believe God is going to use this man and his family to help bring the message of beloved identity in such a way that you hear how it's practically hitting everyday moms and dads.
Yeah.
Everyday husbands and wives. I even think we should do a family table with our kids on here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, because I know there are moms and dads out there. We're definitely the byproduct of praying moms and dads.
100%.
You know, your testimony is absolutely incredible when you were a teenager. Mine is, you know, we want you to be encouraged. So I'm asking you on behalf of him, sow into this, partner with this. You're going to see God use this podcast in a huge way to help shape our nation and point back to one thing, the love of Jesus.
I appreciate it, man. I really do.
I believe in you, man.
Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for being with us on the podcast today. And I know you got a lot out of it. Got more conversations to come. We'll catch you in the next episode of The Family Table.